All right, it is Monday, let's see, the 27th, Knotfest in Iowa, Indianola. The National Balloon Field was last Saturday, 2 days ago. Just wanted to make a quick video synopsis of my wife and I's experience because I've had a lot of people asking, a lot of comments on YouTube on my videos asking about the lines and the experience overall, so I figured I'd make a quick video rather than try to type it out or respond to everybody. It wasn't good. I've been to a lot of festivals over the years, primarily Mayhem Festival and Uproar Festival in Tinley Park in Colorado, and they had everything nailed down. Everything at those festivals was perfect. Never really had to wait in line too long for food, beverages, beer, anything. Notfest was a complete shit show. I'll start from the beginning. My wife and I got up early. I think we got up at like 9. We were staying at a hotel about 30 minutes from the location that it was being held at. We stopped and picked up some coffee on the way, got to the parking area at about 15 minutes after 10. Doors were at 11, and then first band's at noon. We got in line. Luckily, when we parked, we were on one of the end slots in the grassy field. We had regular general admission tickets, not VIP. Parked the car. That was easy enough. Got in the line. The line was already, I would say, 1,000 people long, probably. We couldn't see the full line because it was on a hill. People were super cool, talking to people. The people next to us drove up from, I think it was San Antonio, Texas or something. It was crazy. Super long drive. Everyone was super cool, super happy. Weather's great. I think it was like low 70s, not a cloud in the sky. So it's about 10 minutes after 11. People start moving, doors are open. Everything seems to be going well. We get up over the hill and can see the metal detectors that everyone's going through. And I think I counted, they had, I believe it was 18 of them, 18 individual metal detectors. And there was only, to my knowledge, that entrance to get in to Notfest. There might have been a separate, no, I take that back. VIP was a part of that 18, because they had at the end of the metal detectors, they had a thing that said VIP entrance. So that had to have been the only entrance to get in. So 18 metal detectors for 30,000 people to get into. Luckily we got there early. I think we were in the festival grounds by, I know the first band had already started when we finally got in and like got to the bathroom. So it was probably a little after 12 when we got in, and we got there at 10:15. So with 1,000 people ahead of us, roughly, it took about an hour for us to get in. Got in. It didn't seem like there was a lot of people in there, obviously, because it was still early. The first thing I noticed was that the lack of garbage cans. I was like, this place is gonna just be filled with trash. There was hardly any garbage cans in all of the field areas of the festival grounds. So the first thing we wanted to hit was, we got a drink because we were thirsty. We got in line for the Slipknot Museum because that line gets absurdly long the longer you wait. And that was moving crazy slow. There was maybe 100 people in line. And we wanted to catch Vended, Corey and Clown's son's band. And they went on, I think, at 12:30 on second stage. So we made the decision to get out of line, go down and catch Vended. We were going to get back in line for the Slipknot Museum after. So we did that, went down, caught Vended. Awesome show. I think we were like second row. There wasn't a ton of people there because the first band was finishing up their set on stage 1 when we walked down there. Vended came on, they did their set. I think they played for 25 minutes, maybe a half hour. It was cool because Corey and Alicia and their security guard were sitting side stage for the whole set. So it was really cool to see Corey have like a proud dad moment with his kid. I didn't see Clown anywhere, oddly enough. Maybe he was somewhere backstage or where we couldn't see him, but I'm sure he was there. So that was cool. They sounded great. So they finish up their set. We go get another drink from the tent behind us. This is before any lines existed, so it was great. So we get back in line for the Slipknot Museum. It's about the same length as it was before. Still probably about 100 people in front of us. And we had met up with some friends of ours, so they joined us for that. And it took us just over 2 hours to get through that line and get into the museum. So there's literally no chance that you're going to get through the Slipknot Museum on the road show if you're not there when doors open. Otherwise, you're going to sacrifice seeing the opening bands and all that fun stuff. Luckily, in the line we were in, we could still see the stages, but obviously we weren't in great spots to watch the music. It was loud enough where you could hear it anywhere, so that was good. But yeah, 2 hours to get through the line for Slipknot Museum. Super cool inside. It took us maybe 8 minutes to go through and see everything. They had a bunch of drum heads from the band, bunch of jumpsuits, a ton of masks, bunch of baseball bats from Clown. They had some music video props from The Devil and I and the Psychosocial video. They had the large cage that was used on the cover of the Mate Feed Kill Repeat album that they put out. So that was cool. Trying to think what else was in there. They had a bunch of like stage cases where you could like open them and they had glass over the top, and they had like masks and VIP passes and tickets and photos and stuff like that from old shows. So that was cool to see. Got through that, got out. I know Tech 9 was about to go on because I really wanted to catch him, but we were looking to get food and we were thinking we were still pretty early in the day. Excuse me. So we walk over to the to the right side of the festival, and that's where all the food vendors are, food trucks, the one water station in the entire place, or not even a water station, a water truck, where they were selling Liquid Death cans for $4 a piece. It said they had Gatorade, but by the time we got up there wasn't any. So we get in line for food, and it's deep. I would have to imagine it's 200 people deep. And the lines are so long that you're not exactly sure what line you're standing in based on what vendor is at what you think is the front of the line. I think it was a really poor decision to put all of the food in one area rather than kind of like spreading it out throughout the festival. Like with Mayhem Festival and Uproar, you're always, it's a huge area. It looked huge when we got into Notfest, but once those people keep funneling in, it's just, it wasn't enough space for the amount of people they had. So what my wife and I did is I stayed in one line, which we ended up finding out was like a burger and fries line. We didn't care what we were going to eat. We just wanted something. And it was the shortest line out of the 5 lines that were there. She went and got in the water line. And so at this point, this is Tech 9's performing. It's probably 3:45 p.m. My cell phone completely quit working, just due to the sheer amount of people that were in there. Because it was working fine earlier in the day, and then by, like I said, 4 p.m. it quit working. So we made a plan on if we lost each other, we'd meet up by this big generator. So she's in line for water. I finally get through, get the food. It's a piddly portion of fries. So it's a cheeseburger and fries for $13. And the cheeseburger is like something you'd get in like a middle school lunchroom. size-wise and taste-wise. And the fries, like, I literally thought that someone had messed up, because there was maybe a dozen fries or maybe 15 fries on the side of the burger. So I got us each a burger, and I got a chicken tender basket too, so it was $13 a piece, so it was $49. Or I'm sorry, my math is terrible. 26, yeah, $39. And the food was awful. I mean, the chicken tenders were alright, but it's hard to mess up deep fried food. So it wasn't good food at all, crazy expensive. By the time I'm through that line, Tech 9 is 75% done with his performance. I end up finding my wife in the water line, and she had barely moved at all. And we came to find that this truck that had the water was just like surrounded. So it was like a semi-truck trailer that was for those naked smoothie drinks. And then like a graduation tent kind of thing on the front side, and then just people surrounding all edges of it. And it's massive. There's so many people there. And I kind of like look up over, there's like 5 people working at this tent. So we're sitting there. I went through my line for the burger. That took probably 45 minutes. And so we're eating our food in that line, and we're just parched. Like, we hadn't even been drinking booze or anything all day. We had drinks when we first got in. And things are just not moving. And people start chanting water, 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 like over and over and over again. And I felt bad for the workers, because, I mean, they're just there doing their job. Clearly they didn't have anything to do with how many people are there, working, how many booths there are, all that stuff. So they're just doing what they can. And so we're 6, 7 people back, and I see that they've now run out of Liquid Death, the canned water, and they have people bringing in cases of like Dasani water to the booth, and they're just dumping them in these ice baths. And so I was like, great, hopefully at least the water, hopefully it's not room temperature. I was gonna be pissed if we're paying $4 a bottle of water and it's warm. But we got up there, and people are leaving this tent with boxes, like the Liquid Death boxes of water, because no one was going to sit in the line again. You're in the line for 2 hours. So you have people that are buying cases of Liquid Death, so 12 cans of water, because they're just not going to sit in the lines again. So you see people walking around the festival grounds, and they're all carrying these big boxes of water just because they had no other option. So that sucked in itself. We finally get up there. My wife buys, I think she bought 8 bottles of water, and we end up slamming 2 of them, right off the bat, and then get out of the chaos that is the food area and kind of make our way over to the main stage. And we're way far back, but Tech 9's long done. Trivium's now performing. So we sat down and kind of just like caught our breath and just were like bitching about how ridiculous this experience has been. Drinking a bunch of water because the sun's been out all day, no clouds in the sky. By now it's 78 degrees and hot. So relaxed a bit, watched Trivium. Trivium was great. After that, we kind of made our way over to the second stage because Gojira was about to go on, and we ran into some friends, thankfully, because my phone wasn't working at all. I have AT&T, and I typically have good coverage, but was not working at all at Notfest. Meet up with some friends, watch Gojira, make our way over to one of the beer tents that was over by the main stage, and stand in the beer line now, because our friends had just gotten there and they haven't been dealing with all the chaos that we had. So we stand in the beer line. Obviously the lines go a little faster when you're conversating with people, but I mean the line didn't look that long, and we were still in line for probably 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And you get up to buy a beer, and they're limiting you to 2 beers per person. And so I didn't know that because I wasn't buying more than one earlier in the day. But to wait in a line for an hour to then get up there and be told you can only have 2 beers, it's like, number one, they're just losing money on it. And number two, like, people are just not going to wait in another hour-long line to get 2 more beers. So that was dumb in itself, but whatever. So we get a couple beers, finish watching Gojira. That was all fine. Lamb of God comes on. They were absolutely incredible. Lamb of God's great. I've seen them numerous times. And they always just bring a great performance. We were at main stage, though, watching second stage, so we were pretty far away, but there was still a pit that opened up on main stage, so that was kind of fun to jump in and get some of that line aggression out of during Redneck. So that was fun. Who is after, let's see, Lamb of God? I think it was Suicide Boys. Yeah. Definitely not for me, not a fan of theirs. Clearly they had tons of fans in the crowd, though, because there was people rapping along with every song they did. So whatever, good for them. Not for me. Doesn't seem fitting for a festival like that, but whatever. Megadeth goes on. Never really been a fan of Megadeth. Their musicianship is great. Love the music of it, but Dave's vocals have just always been something I'm not a fan of. So we're watching them from main stage. We kind of moved up closer for Slipknot. And yeah, so whatever. Megadeth performs. It's all good. They're done. Slipknot comes on. And, you know, there's always those assholes that, like, wait until 5 minutes before the band goes on and they're, you know, pushing their way up, whatever. It happens at every show. Slipknot goes on, the place explodes. Like, there's not an area within 200 or 300 feet of the stage where there's not just moshing in a pit and all this stuff. And I've seen Slipknot numerous times as well, so that was expected. But after being at the festival for 12 hours, I was just exhausted, and I just couldn't do it. So my wife and I moved back a bit. We caught the show from kind of the right side, from the back, we went to the bathroom at one point, so we were in the way back. So we saw him from all angles. We ended up seeing him at the soundboard, which was really cool, actually. It was close enough where, like, you were content with where you were at, but far enough back so you weren't dealing with, you know, moshing and all that stuff. But the show itself was great. Music was great. There was a couple sound issues. I know during Suicide Boys, sound got cut for maybe 10 seconds and the crowd kind of, you know, went off. I don't remember if it happened any other time. Definitely didn't happen during Slipknot. But just the layout of the festival was terrible. Bathrooms are all in the back left area, so there's no bathrooms anywhere else. You all have to go to one side of the festival for bathrooms. All the food is all on the other side, so all the food is over there. Merch tables, I think they had 3 different merch tables, and those were spread out, so that made sense. And then I think they had 3 bars as well. But the lines were just so atrocious that you would have to sacrifice a minimum of an hour and a half to 2 hours to get anything. The merch lines weren't bad because they seemed to have those staffed pretty well. But the drink lines, the food lines, all that stuff was awful. I'm just trying to remember if there was anything else. Yeah, so just like I said, as far as a festival goes, it just seems like it was piss poor planning. On our drive home, my wife was on social media and she was looking, so Mammoth Live is the production company that put on this festival. And so they've got social media, and she was looking on there, and people were posting all their negative experiences of people passing out, you know, because they couldn't get water, people having to leave early because they couldn't get food, they were hungry, or because they needed water and they couldn't get any. And she saw that the comments were like actively being deleted on the posts. And then a couple of their new posts that they had made, they like shut off commenting on their posts or something. So I don't know. It sucks that they won't just admit that it was a shit show, because it was. I don't think there's any blame to be put on Slipknot per se. It sucks that they entrusted a production company like Mammoth Live. I'm not familiar with them. If they've done any other big shows, I'm sure they have. But the venue they had just didn't make sense for the amount of people they had. They could have sprawled things out a bit further. I know I would have been happy walking longer distances to not have to, you know, zigzag in between people because everyone was so compressed in. And then that brings us to the end of the show. So end of the show, I thought we were lucky as far as where we parked, because we were on the end of one of the rows. So I was like, we could go forward, we could turn right, we could turn around if we needed to, depending on the way that they were going to direct traffic out. Well, we get out there and there's nobody directing traffic at all. Nobody. Not a single worker. We walked past the line for the shuttle. They had a free shuttle bus service to a mall, which was actually right next to our hotel, but I figured that would be terrible, so we drove ourselves. The line was atrocious. I can't even guess how many people were waiting for shuttles. And this is after we kind of hung around inside a bit. We took some photos with the Notfest sign and stuff like that. We got food at one of the vendors that was still serving food, because we figured we were going to be stuck in the parking lot for a while. And so yeah, nobody's directing traffic. We saw police lights kind of at the exit areas, but they were literally just standing there preventing people from going certain directions in traffic. They weren't directing traffic. Nobody from Notfest was directing traffic. By the time it's about 1:15 in the morning, I think the show got done at 11:30, something like that. We started moving a little bit, and I saw there was a guy that was sitting on this gravel road, and occasionally he would jump up and like stand in front of cars, and we rolled our windows down and came to find that he was just a fan. He was just a fan that attended the show and was like directing traffic, because if you've ever been at a festival, people are typically assholes when they go to leave, and there's no common courtesy as to like, okay, there's 3 different areas cars are coming out of, you know, you go 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. No, it's usually like people just drive like they're in a train and don't let anybody in. So this fan was actively like standing in front of cars to let other cars go, which we were getting many laughs out of, because people were yelling at this dude for doing it. And they were asking if he was on drugs and stuff, and it's like, well, there should be someone from the festival out here directing traffic. But it didn't happen. So by the time we finally get out of the parking area, it's probably a little after 1:30, because my buddy had bet that it would be 1:30 before we started moving. So that's 2 hours after the show was done. I saw posts on Facebook that said people were in the parking lot until 4 in the morning. I think we were lucky because we were on the very outside of the parking area. So we lucked out with showing up early as far as having a parking spot. I don't recall if I mentioned or not, but the VIP parking was actually, it was closer to getting in, like walk-wise, but then your car is like stuck on the inside parking area, which immediately I was like, oh, I would just park in the regular parking if I had VIP, because it's going to take you far longer to get out of inside the central parking area than the outer areas. So that I don't think was very well planned. it should have been a separate lot, or it should have been, I don't know, a different entrance entirely for VIP. I know I looked at VIP tickets and it was like $700 for 2 tickets after fees. So I can't speak to the VIP experience. I know they had a separate area for food and bathrooms and stuff, but I didn't have that, so we didn't go in there at all. But yeah, that's, I said it'd be a quick video, but it clearly did not turn out to be. I just wanted to get this out there while the entire experience was still fresh in my mind. I'm still glad we went. The Slipknot performance was stellar. I don't know for sure, but I think it might have been the debut of them playing Solway Firth live. So that was really cool. They played Nero Forte, which was awesome. Heretic Anthem, Disaster Piece. What else did they... I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that they hadn't played in a while. You can look it up on setlist.fm. But the set list was great. Corey's voice is incredible. Hasn't lost anything through the pandemic. Dude is still a beast. But yeah, that's Notfest 2021. If I could go back and do something differently, I would have stocked up on, I would have eaten right when we got in, when the lines were non-existent, and I would have gotten a bunch of water and just thrown it in a drawstring bag and just drank it warm throughout the day. Because by the time the majority of the crowd was in, basically everything was inaccessible. They didn't have, to my knowledge, any sort of like water fill-up station. I downloaded the map on my phone before I lost service of like where things were at in the festival grounds, and I didn't see that. I did see some people walking around with those camelbacks, so that probably would have been a good decision. I know they were not letting people in with sealed bottles of water because I saw people slamming their water before going through security. So that probably was a dumb decision on their behalf. But yeah, it was just, out of the 15 years I've been going to shows, that festival was by far the worst. The people were all great, the fans were all awesome. Obviously you get a few drunk assholes, but the show was great. Production was all perfect, but as far as the promoter that put it on and organized things, everything was awful. It's like they had a new company come in and do everything that didn't have any experience. So yeah, that's my 2021 Knotfest synopsis that I told a few people I would do. So there you have it.